Alright, hello everyone. My name is Disc. We are at the start of a new week, and this is a Spires of Ascension 23. We are now Fortified, Raging, and Explosives. This was an IO dungeon for me, so I was really doing my best. My opener for Spires, I go ahead and atone the whole group, and my opener is to Fade, and go ahead and dot all the enemies. I start covering the group with Atonement. I get my first PI out on the Hunter, and I go into Boon. We have Nova Nova Blast as our pattern. I'm not sure what happened to the warrior there. Refresh my dots. So, as a Discipline Priest, you have a real opportunity to make a difference with those explosives. It can be a real pain in the butt. It can eat your mana. It can lower your DPS, but it can really help the group. So, I always try and reserve Shadow or Death for bombs. It is an instant cast, and it's pretty cheap on mana. Other than that, we always have our dot at hand. You can also use Solace, but I wouldn't recommend that. I have a little tracker on the right side of my screen. The top meter is an explosive orb count. And that first room really about took all my mana.
You were the Paragon of...
So I see PI available, the Hunter's cooldown window, the Warrior's cooldown window. This is Fortified. I would have pulled the trash. Go ahead and get those cooldowns running. It's common that you use these Tormentors as a cooldown reset. So I think we should have gone into the trash. But in hindsight, it looked like what he was doing was waiting for the Druid's cooldown because everyone popped on that trash. And then we were dry on the boss. But that's how it goes sometimes. Always use Barrier there. I backload that cast. You'll see I was targeted for the first dot attack. You have the Barrier to help with that. It's always nice to have the crit buff at the front of the dungeon. Yeah, so I knew that the Druid was going to hold for boss, but we all popped here, and the reason I gave it to the Warrior here is because I didn't think the Druid would pop, and the Hunter only had half of his cooldowns. So I went for the Warrior. I didn't have my meters adjusted right, so sucks we can't see the current numbers per pull. I switch it mid-dungeon. So we have nothing. So we're all just pumping the best we can with our base book spells. In a 2-target fight, definitely want to try and keep the spectrometer targeted.
Your doom takes flight. Nowhere to run.
The thing with orbs is there is no way to target them except manually targeting them. So I place my dot right underneath my index finger on the F key, no modifier. I feel like I have more dexterity in my index fingers, so I put it under the F key where there's a nub on the key, and I can hit it at any given moment quickly. You can also tab target it. I think more times than tab targeting, I just click it with my mouse. Hunter queued for something, so I wanted to get PI out. This is a weird boss for us. Yeah, it's kind of because of the ordering of the tank's pulls, taking the Tormentor first. Weird call. He was high IO. I'm not sure what he was thinking. Sometimes I dispel, sometimes I just heal it. I just keep schism rolling, DPSing as much as I can. Dots on both of the bosses. Also do your best when they are together. Use penance to spread that dot. Alright, first boss over, and this is probably the hardest pull of the dungeon. We all stack up over here just for coverage. I started toning everybody. I have more defensive spells than anything, no PI, but we're going to go defensive. Open with Pain Sup. That lets me help with a couple explosives. And I enter Boon as quickly as I can. Radiance at the top, thankfully, because an explosive went off. Yeah, once we got it down to here, the real threat was over. I was just focusing on orbs a little bit. These pulls are notorious for spiking health. I could have played a little more defensively there with Rapture, but I opted just for DPS and Shadow Mends. It's one of the only ways to quickly get someone's health up. I fade, throw out a couple heals, and I just start dotting the whole group. I give our Survival Hunter PI. Trying to have all these hits land and erupt on the group. Re-get my dots out. This guy was just free casting, so I threw a fear to break that cast, and help out a little. Usually I would mind sear this pack a lot more, but I'm trying to take care of the orbs, let the team DPS. Yeah, for this week as discipline, however you bind your Purge the Wicked, put it somewhere that's super accessible where you don't need to move your finger around to find the button. You want it to kind of always be just right under your index finger, ideally. Super easy to hit, not a labor, can hit it really quickly. Yeah, think of your keybinds like that. So this is crazy. I pain sup so I can get dots out, take care of some orbs. We just got PI, and we're going to give it to the Boomkin for the trash. And then I enter Boon here. I'm going for as many hits as I can get. Yeah, that was a full Boon. I guess that hunter wanted my feather. All is fair. Schism Seer, good combo. Yeah, this guy jumps around. You can use your Shining Force there to put him back in the group. Makes the AoE more effective.
For eons, we have been
This group, deceptively hard. You really need to play it right, even though it's only a 4-pack. Defensively, use barrier, mainly just to get dots out. That's always a safe play of barrier. So some people might play Boon the next pull when we have the spear down for the increased damage. It'd be great for padding the numbers, but I don't really Boon there. So I was playing too aggressive. If I had just tossed out a Radiance there, everything would have been fine. Yeah, that was just a bad play for me. But the next pull, when everyone is frozen with the spear, I don't think going into Boon is the smartest move. I take that moment when everyone is paused just to dot everyone, and you'll see me do that next. I feel like getting my dots out on a large pull is more valuable than the DPS gain from Boon there. If everyone is dotted, that's great damage, honestly. And it so many enemies dotted is a really nice cushion for the HPS. And hard to tell what's going to go on when we leave this pull. But gave PI to our Boomkin again. He's proved to do good with it more than once. If it were a boss fight, I would recommend delaying PI. Their DPS will ramp, and it's better to PI the latter half of their window But in a trash pull like that, where we had this Kyrian spear, I wanted our boomkin to have a really nice boost of damage in that window. So this is a skip. Fade mount is macroed for me. I actually have it just macroed into my regular mount keybind, so I can just fade all the time. That's another macro I love. Cast Levitate and cancel R Levitate. Same keybind, so that's pretty fun. And this is notably the hardest pull of the dungeon on Fortified, so we're skipping. But I don't have a potion to use. It's on cooldown, but I can Mind Soothe these guys, Fade Mount, and walk right by all of them. Really awesome. You can do that in a lot of places. And I would love to PI our boomkin here, but he's not ready. QPI perfectly on that hunter there. And our druid gets the first dot. I like to use a cooldown per dot that goes out. It's a lot better way to use your cooldowns here rather than wasting time to shadow mend an ally. So I got the dot the second time. Kyrian File. Great place to use that.
From the shadows, I witness your demise.
A single feather will cover most of this dodge phase, so I just pop one near the start to preemptively increase my movement speed. I want to be able to dodge there if I gotta. Yeah, so the druid for this dot, Shadow Fiend and Schism, and then I just DPS, and that's all the healing he needs. He gets it again. So a couple people get hit here, and you see how it can go downhill quickly. When I'm shadow mending one person, I guess one of the limitations of the spec is I can't heal more than one person at a time, so multiple people get hit, and that's how you get deaths. I used wall for that one that targeted me. Got the boomkin up pretty quickly, but he died at the front end of his cooldown window, so that was a pretty big loss for the group. Go ahead and feather here. Just let it run. Yeah, we definitely lost, I'm guessing 25 to 30 seconds there, losing the bulk of our druid's cooldown window. Our druid back there was our MVP for that fight. We really needed all we could get out of him, so we have a little time to make up for. I wouldn't say we're comfortable on time at this moment.
A great evil lurks nearby. Expel it with haste.
So I definitely want to use Shadow Fiend here, but the way the last boss played out, we don't have it until now. But I go ahead and get my atonements out. Get a few Shadow Mins for the atonements. We lost our Druid, so I took on the responsibility of baiting that attack outside the group. I kind of know the cadence of that spell, so I try and leave my Solace and Penance available and just start walking as you're expecting it to come. It's a pretty big area of effect. You don't have too much time to wait to walk out of it or it'll hit you, like it did that Druid. So, Druid down 2 fights in a row. So when you're going right, it's always good to Mind Soothe both those guys, but we're going left. This is a really hard pull. I'm surprised the tank wanted to do this on Fortified. It's a pull that's not often done. It's not necessarily hard in itself, but no one knows how to do it correctly because it's never done. But his plan was to Bloodlust here and just power through it. I give PI to our Druid because we really need this to die. We have a lot of damage going out. So that was a very standard defensive boon. I cast a Radiance between my 4th and 5th Ascended Blast. Straight into Rapture because I just don't know with that pull. And we almost got full value of Rapture. So the tank says, wait, I'm pulling both. So we're on Fortified still, but that's what he wants to do. The explosives won't hit you if you're LOS. So I immediately went behind that pillar. Lead with Pain Sup. Fear that guy who's in the back. Cast a barrier and just start Shadow Mending. These guys can chunk your health. And if 2 target you at the same time, it can be game over. So I don't think the tank realized that there was 1 ad still up. Not only did I need mana, he's attacking me. So, start of the fight, 50% mana. I'm a little worried, so I opt for reserving mana as much as I can. That means limiting over atoning as much as possible, defensive penance, relying on smite the best I can, penance and solace on cooldown, and I'm kind of eliminating Mind Blast. It is a good heal, but out of your base set, it is the most costly on mana. I wall. So this is a DPS phase. Definitely want a boon here. Nova Blast. The tank will be taking increased damage, so it's good to have him atoned here. If I had a Pain Sup, drop Pain Sup at the 10th stack. Didn't have Pain Sup, it's non-tyrannical. He had Incarn up, so a few Shadow Mins is all it needed. Always good to have bars that will show you aggro indicators. You can get ahead of those attacks with a shield. not only will the shield reduce damage, the lenience talent will reduce it by another 3%. So everyone got stomped. That's crazy, but thankfully I was already going to Shadow Fiend here. So it's a small utility, but a Blood Elf's racial ability is Arcane Torrent. It is mana regen. It might get you enough mana for like one spell, but always roll that when you need mana. So the warrior really came in handy on this fight. He can reflect those attacks, and it doesn't harm him. Yeah, I had Boon again. I really just wanted to get that guy over with so I could drink. So this was a fault on the DPS. The tank clearly wasn't taking the transportation, but 2 of the DPS went on it. And for being in a pinch, that transport takes about 25 seconds or 20 seconds. So we have to wait for them to get off the bird and then come back down before we can take another hard pull. So that was their bad. I don't do this much, but I'm telling the warrior just to jump. So I'm spamming grip on him, and if you time it right, he won't take fall damage. Got him. So this is another group that people don't do often, and this is our one full wipe here. I dropped PI on our hunter. He's the best choice. Get my dots out. So one of these mobs puts damage on the ground, these old black bullets that you have to avoid, and our melee stood right in them. Yeah, I was in Boon, but there was no way to recover from that. So we let it reset. That's not great because we didn't kill a single one, and they're all going to be full health now. Again. But the warrior has cooldowns. I think the druid popped here too. But PI's gone, so dot everybody. Tab over the last enemy, spread his dot by using penance. Yeah, druid popped here. We're mad at these guys. We just gotta get them down. So I'm keeping my hand hovered on my party, keeping my dots refreshed. Drop paints up there because I needed to prioritize heals on other people. That's a good way to cover the tank for 8 seconds. So we're right under 9 minutes. These next 3 angels can be really hard on Fortified, and is our final task, really. In this scenario, we need to drop PI because we will get it again, but you have to DPS as hard as you can. We're rolling as many smites as possible, keeping Schism on cooldown. I'm really trying to get the explosives here so the DPS can get their job done. I was staying back, purposefully not engaging. Combat holds between the angels, which is a little odd, so I was not engaging on purpose so that I could find that moment of dropping combat and regen mana. And just DPS as hard as you can. Get the orbs for your party. They'll ultimately do more DPS than you, even at your best, so try and get the orbs for the party. So this ground damage is predictable. If you look down the hilt of the sword, directionally, the beams will come out like a cross. It's not too hard to dodge, but you do need to kind of examine the field. And with all this damage going out, I'm trying to keep a couple more atonements just to have heals flooding the group. And yeah, one guy down. We can't let that derail this pull. We get a battle res and another guy down. Was that the same guy? Thankfully, that pull was over, so got a quick res on them. I'm drinking. Needed to drink anyway, so. And our Guardian Druid here is doing really good with the orbs. Again, in this spear window, I want to PI our Boomkin. And I'm expecting a lot of damage here since this angel is fortified. So I'm keeping the group fully atoned, and I opt to Shadow Fiend and Schism. Follow it by a Radiance, just for good measure. Combat holds for a little bit, spamming Drink.
The age of the Forsworn is at hand.
So we left Sagadon, meaning the run-throughs are going to hurt more, and so will these detonations. So I want to use a cooldown per detonation. My first one is Boon. Also, these dots go out in the group. Since I'm in Boon, I'm just going to Radiance and heal through it. Better play a Boon there rather than breaking from Boon to Dispel. Use the globals for the Boon. And if I had played my cooldowns differently on the Angel, I might have had a cooldown here to use, but I'm a little bit dry, so just manually picking everybody up.
I control the power of that.
Yeah, I should have booned the Angel, but that's okay. DPS as much as you can before he jumps away. And we don't have anything to attack here, so Atonement is out the window. Thankfully we have an off healer in the group, so our Druid gives a really nice wild growth and some heals. I toss out some Rapture shields. It's going to be cheaper than Mass Dispel. It's not tyrannical. So PI is available, however, our Boomkin is not ready this round, so I'm holding for the Boomkin. That'll really make a difference. And Radiant Schism out of that detonation.
I will strike you down.
And for this detonation, I'm going to get a couple atonements out, refresh my dot. Here comes Schism, and we're going to boon this one. Get boon rolling. Get as many hits as I can. Yeah, we have those dots out, but I'm just going to heal through it instead of using the globals. And my eruption was a little bit off there. It would have been so nice if it erupted about a split second later. But just getting as much DPS as I can.
My mana is nearly gone.
We get Innervate, get out some free heals. And in this little moment, just DPS, DPS. I'll use Penance defensively in this window. It's one of our best and cheapest heals that isn't bound by Atonement. So I notice we have no time to spare. Usually I would delay PI on a Druid, but I pop it immediately just because we are running out of time. I have no mana, trying to DPS as much as I can here. Thankfully I had wall just in time, and there we go. Yeah, that's Spires 23. It was my first time key of the new week. I do think explosive orbs are a nightmare, but I think a better way to look at it is as kind of for sport. I go into these keys and try and get more orbs than others. I think it's a kind of fun way to look at the week. And our Druid really outdid me there, our tank Druid. His numbers were really great with the orbs, but I would say if there's one person in the group that should take on that responsibility more than others, it is the tank, with healer second. But that was a pretty good run overall. We had that one mishap at the bottom of this platform that really almost cost us everything. First with half the team taking the transport and then the wipe afterwards. But thankfully we had a pretty strong group and we were able to recover from all of our deaths except for that one, and got some IO from it. Yeah, we had 3 seconds to spare, so cutting it close. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I will be posting a little bit more this week, and until next time, Disc out.